even if ordinary people in the street didn't know somebody who was suffering from HIV, they knew of public figures, often who had died of AIDS. You know, it was devastating. Some of it sort of bypassed me, but I was very much aware of it going on around me. And it was terrifying, actually, because we didn't know very much about what was going on. And we knew this disease was out there. And I just emerged from monastic seclusion into the big, wild, sort of terrifying world, and it was much more terrifying than I could possibly have imagined. And so, watching Russell T Davies's program the other day, I realised, well, I've known for a while that Russell and I were contemporaries at Oxford, and so many of the things that he's referencing there, I knew, and you know, the circle of friends that we had was actually quite small when you think about it, and it sort of extended from Oxford down to London, and many of those people are no longer with us. You know, it was devastating. Well, there were two. There was two stigmas. The plural of stigma, Kieran, is stigmata. So, and there were two of them, and you know, good Greek word. And one was just the fear that that you would find that you were HIV positive. And there's a great line in It's a Sin saying there's this person in a ward dying from shame, and that was definitely a sort of thought in the back of one's mind. And then but then there was a second stigma, which was clause 28, and I'm now in a position where I've been teaching in a university in Moscow, and I'm very much aware that the Russian equivalent of clause 28, which is that you must not promote a non-traditional lifestyle to anyone under the age of 18, is itself terrifying, and being in a position as a university professor, so heading a department, I realize my position is extremely delicate, and at any point, you know, somebody can knock on the door and I can find myself not facing what the law says, which is a small fine, but it's been ratcheted up by a man who frankly looks like a toad. I mean, I don't wish to make too many personal comments, but he does have toad-like qualities, and he's the grandson or the great grandson of the great writer Tolstoy. And he's an obnoxious man. I mean, he started his political life off knocking Jewish people and claiming that Jewish people were going into Orthodox churches and setting fire, which is complete rubbish. And now he's found a better target, which is gay people. And with his encouragement, now gay people in Russia seriously face a threat of between 12 and 22 years in prison. There was a fellow I wrote about a while ago called Maxime. And you know, if people are making blogs, are promoting or even talking about their life online, that is often judged to be a promotion that can be seen by people who are under 18. Therefore, one is in danger. And so, as somebody who's been who was promoted as somebody who was gay on the circle, you know, I tried to be discreet. I tried not to say too much. I tried to think, you know, why do I need to say anything? People just look at the color of my socks and they draw their own conclusions. In some ways, I don't feel that I need to walk around place saying, hello, I'm gay. It's rather like, you know, hello, I'm human. I don't feel I need to demonstrate my humanity in the same way as I don't feel I really need to demonstrate my gayness. It should be obvious, and it's part of my personality. And in a way, that's a sort of lifestyle that I suppose I'm accustomed to because of the experiences that we had in the 1980s. Yeah, it's, you know, we took comfort from meeting people of such diversity, who we would never normally meet, simply because of this common fear that we faced, and the rise of pride and the rise of sort of political representation, which is incredibly important. But I still cling to the colour of my socks. Well, initially it was incredibly weak, and the fear really was that even getting tested was itself a problem. Have you had an AIDS test? That could seriously jeopardize travel, jobs, and so on. You know, we've got to a point now where it's routine, and it's simply something people take. You know, they tighten their belt and get on with it, which is what it always should have been. But you know, the government put forward this very euphemistic, but actually quite brave advertising campaign, and gradually, you know, we had things like the Lighthouse and so on, that were sort of focused on our support, but you know, we were very much left on our own, and I think Russell T Davies picks up that atmosphere. There was solidarity in the community, and there was determination, and you know, sort of how creative the gay community is, and defiant. But in the end, we were out on a limb, and I think I think the lack of proper support is regrettable. The gay community was quite small, really. You know, the gay community, gay people in Oxford, that's practically 60% of the population. But the gay community was quite small, and we would have known many people. We would have had many friends in common, I'm sure. And I know that I was one of those people who used to watch Doctor Who. So I find you know, it's improbable that we didn't have quite a large group of friends in common.
And well, with such a sort of, I guess, as you said, like a small group of gay community at the college itself, did you know anyone that was affected by HIV in a close proximity to you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I not in my own college. I was in an incredibly small college, and I was sent out to many different colleges for my tuition, which is how I ended up regularly going to Worcester College, which is where Russell T Davies was. Yeah, certainly I was aware of people sort of disappearing from the community, and very much it was very much more evident from the friends that I had in London in the arts community, in the theatre community. But I seem to recall there were a few people in Oxford at the time, and it was just that sense that you know, it could be anybody. Well, it's not talked about in a way, I think, because you know, it's now much more controlled. It's not sorted out, but it's under control, and I think we've got the support in place, which is what we needed. I think if you look beyond Britain, the HIV/AIDS epidemic is still a serious problem across the world, and it hasn't been sorted out. And it's you know, we need to energize our efforts towards that, and you know, it affects people of all backgrounds, and straight and gay. And affects children particularly. There's a lot that we have to do, but we've made the first we've taken the first tentative step, and I hope the stigma of AIDS has now been eradicated. It's there's a really touching scene again in It's a Sin where one of the main characters says to his mother, "I've not been dirty," and it was just so touching. I just think this is a medical an epidemic and must be treated as such. It's not an act of God. That goes to the heart of the title, I just find that sort of the moral element, that moral interpretation of a health crisis is diabolical. That's the only way I can judge it, it's still there. So we still have that battle to fight, but on a much broader canvas. One of the ways we got through that time was by having a public image and by being seen, and that gradually, people, even if ordinary people in the street didn't know somebody who was suffering from HIV or AIDS, they knew of public figures, often who had died of AIDS, and this helped to energize interest in the disease and a bit of an effort to sort it out. But for a long time, this was dismissed, I think, in the popular imagination as the gay disease is not going to affect me or anybody that I know because no one in my family is gay. Wake up. This is this is not a gay disease, and B, there are many people in your family who are gay. You just haven't opened your eyes to the reality, or turned on Tinder. It's just open your eyes, and that the fact that we were facing this appalling pandemic as a community in the public eye, I think it helped. The publicity helped.
Fantastic. Well,